Bring in Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, Kevin Hassett, former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. Gentlemen, I am honored in your presence. The IQ here is phenomenal. Not on stage here, but out there remote. Appreciate it very much. I just want to go first, Kevin. Speeches like this, more and more, he keeps talking about cutting spending. He keeps talking about undoing all of Biden's, Green New Deal subsidies and programs and whatnot. He keeps mentioning budget impoundment authority. This is a tougher Trump on spending, and he's making the link between spending and inflation. I think this is extremely constructive. What are you thinking, Kevin?
Yeah, and again, it's almost like President Trump needs to make one of his slogans, "It's the economy, stupid," hearkening back to Bill Clinton. The Biden administration really is in denial on inflation. But I emailed you this morning, Larry, that Google Trends, like one of the biggest upticks in Google Trends is searches on the word inflation. You and I see it in the data, and Americans are concerned about it, and they're even Googling it. But at the same time, Jim Tankersley just put a piece in the New York Times where he interviewed White House officials, including, my dear friend, Jared Bernstein, who has my former job. And Jared says that he doesn't see any link between demand and inflation at all. No kidding. And so it doesn't have anything to do with all of this runaway spending. And so the point is the Biden administration, sadly, is in denial about inflation, and it's taking off again because of that, right? If they actually faced up to what causes inflation, then maybe they could do something to help their own election chances by reducing it. But instead, they're doing the opposite.
Arthur, hang on a second. I've got some more sound on Trump on Biden's spending from the Wisconsin speech. Take a listen, please.
And upon taking office, I will impose an immediate moratorium on all new spending grants and giveaways under the Joe Biden mammoth socialist bills like the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. To further crack down on rampant waste in the federal government, we're going to bring back presidential impoundment authority, and we're going to end this war on American energy. We're going to drill, baby, drill.
All right, there you have it. And Arthur, with patience, I want you to hear one more about stagflation and tax cuts. Here it comes.
We're plunging. We're now in a Biden stagflation, yet crooked Joe Biden wants to raise taxes on top of that and raise business taxes, which will lead to the destruction of your jobs. But with me in the White House, we will protect the Trump tax cuts for working families. We will make our middle class stronger, bigger, better, stronger, wealthier, and more prosperous than ever before.
All right, terrific. Art, the reason they're both very important. I know we repeated the sound on spending, but I think that's just very important. But the other thing is what he said. Of course, he is saying we're going to keep the Trump tax cuts. We will extend the Trump tax cuts. Biden wants to expire the Trump tax cuts. But, Art, President Trump saying if you raise business taxes, you will damage working folks and their jobs and their wages. Now, I think that is a key insight. You've put it out there. Kevin practically invented it with corporate taxes. We all argued this.
True.
I think the president has just lassoed this idea. He's linking it in a way that the Bidens are incapable of linking it. If you jack up these corporate taxes or small business taxes, I don't care which, both of which are in Biden's plan, then who's going to suffer? Not rich people. I'm sorry. Working folks are going to suffer. Middle and lower income folks are going to suffer. Real wages will go down, Arthur. I mean, this is so important.
Yeah, let me just say, Larry, that raising taxes, as Biden is proposing, is the exact wrong thing to do right now. You destroy an economy. I've never heard of an economy being taxed into prosperity. The reason you guys and Trump did so well was you brought down the taxes. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was very effective. I mean, it's just a pleasure to be on here with you and Kevin. It's just wonderful. But when you let people spend other people's money and then raise taxes to destroy the supply supply of goods, you're going to get the inflation. Kevin, I just can't believe that Jared Bernstein said anything like what he said. It just makes no sense whatsoever. You know, Trump's really on a roll. I watched those speeches in Wisconsin. It was phenomenal. He hit all the right points all the way across the board. I think it's going to be a slam dunk on this election, and you're going to see the U.S. economy soar and take off, inflation coming down, and having a real long-term prosperity like we did under Reagan after '83.
Kevin, you got to be happy that the President Trump is making this connection between business taxes and wages and working folks and jobs. I mean, it's a crucial connection. You know, Joe Biden's always out there saying these are only tax cuts for the rich and wealthy and for big corporations. That's just completely wrong. They weren't even the biggest beneficiaries. It was the middle and actually the lower quintile. And poverty went down, right? And inequality went down, right? And real wages soared. Now, Trump had a lot of that in this speech. I couldn't go through all of it. It was quite a lengthy speech, and he got it done. And then, Kevin, here's another point I want to. President in there said, I don't know if anybody's going to pick up on this. You can't have tens of millions of new immigrants, illegals, coming over the border and maintain an entitlement state here at home. He is saying you're just going to break the bank. You can have one,
Correct.
but not the other. And we got to keep our entitlement state intact. He does not want to abolish any Social Security or Medicare, anything like that. But if you leave if these people come over and they get new benefits, you already see it in city and state after state. The cost of the illegals is astronomical, and we will never be able to pay for the Social Security and the Medicare tax. Now, the Bidens never want to deal with this because they think there's just more spending for everybody. But, Kevin, I think that's a crucial point. You want entitlements? Then you got to shut the border down.
You got to shut the border. You're right. And going back to what you said about the president making the link between taxes and people's lives, that it was right before you came into the White House when we were selling the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that Gary Cohn and I were in the Oval with the president, and I presented a simulation of what it would do to GDP, and he looks at me, he's like, Kevin, what are you talking about? People don't care about GDP. What's it going to do for people? What's it going to do to wages? And then he came up, you know, and then we told him $4,000, and then he knew that that was the soundbite that the Democrats couldn't fight against, and that's why tax cuts passed, is because he always cared first about the worker and knows how to communicate with them. But the thing about looking at the speech that most struck me, Larry, and I'll go really fast, is just that when he talked about this sham trial in New York, people were really, really angry. But when he talked about the economy, they were more angry. They were more angry. And that's got to terrify the Biden administration.
Arthur, you can't keep a good man down. That's what you see. They're trying to lock him up in New York courtroom.
No, you can't.
Or they're trying to lock him up in a jail, for heaven's sakes, for 700 years. He gets out. He goes to this middle America, Waukesha, Wisconsin, and delivers a barn banner. He gave a stem whiner. I mean, there it is. And Art, you know what? The media doesn't want this, but the reason Trump is doing so well is because of his message. It's his message. It's not about, you know, I'm sure lawfare and sympathy is in there, and Biden's, you know, weaknesses across the board. But, Arthur, they want to return to growth. They want to return to prosperity. They want to return to law and order. They want to return to a closed border. Trump has been, it's like the secret message. The only people that hear it are the voters.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The only people who hear it are the voters. The media doesn't hear it. The voters. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, yeah, well, they claim that Trump is not for democracy and all that, and then they try to prohibit from running for office. I mean, I can't think of anything more undemocratic. And your point about coming up, we all love immigrants who want to come here and work and better their lives. Everyone's for that. To come here to get more welfare and not work, that is not what open borders should be. You're completely right on that. And you look at Trump and his whole message is growth, prosperity, lower inflation, higher wages. Biden is exactly the opposite. I'm just shocked at what they're doing and what they're proposing. Anyone would tell them that raising taxes in this economy is the wrong message, period. Everyone knows that.
Can't keep a good man down. Thank you, gentlemen. Art Laffer and Kevin Hassett. We appreciate it very much.